I'm a man.
I'm a man.
I'm a man, man.
All the women here tonight, talk to all the men that aren't here tonight, and all you brave men that are here tonight, talk to all the other men that aren't here tonight.
Enough to cook my steak rare.
Man enough to deadlift 500, then braid the out of my daughter's hair.
It's actually for all men. You know, I think men are in crisis, actually, in this country. And not all men are just at home listening to Joe Rogan, being angry or being recruited to fascism. Some just need therapy.
The definition of masculinity going forward, is it toxic masculinity or is it a different kind of masculinity?
Right.
This table is driven by women. There is masculinity, and the definition of masculinity is on the ballot. As far as your question about breaking through, I like what she did when she was talking about John McCain and giving, because she was very real. Like she's got to let it rip a little bit.
Yeah.
We have not yet seen the same kinds of energy and turnout in all quarters of our neighborhoods and communities as we saw when I was running. I also want to say that that seems to be more pronounced with the brothers.
You think I'm afraid to rebuild a carburetor? I eat carburetors for breakfast.
I ain't afraid of bears.
That's what bear hugs are for.
I'll tell you another thing I sure as shit am not afraid of. Women.
I'm not afraid of women.
I'm not afraid of women.
They want to control their bodies? I say go for it.
They want to use IVF to start a family? I'm not afraid of families.
They want to be childless cat ladies?
Have all the cats you want.
Woman wants to be president?
Well, I hope she has the guts to look me right in the eye and accept my full-throated endorsement.
Because I'm man enough to support women.
Man enough to know what kind of donuts I like.
Man enough to admit I'm lost, even when I refuse to ask for directions.
Man enough to not ban young women from reading Little Women.
Or one of those pants books that the sisters like.
I'm man enough to raw dog a flight. It sucked. Not worth it.
I'm man enough to be emotional in front of my wife.
In front of my kids.
In front of my horse.
I'm man enough to tell you that I cry at Love Actually.
Good Will Hunting.
West Side Story.
That and Predator.
And I'm sick of so-called men domineering, belittling, and controlling women just so they can feel more powerful.
That's not how my mama raised me.
I love women.
I love women who support their families.
Women who decide not to have families.
Women who take charge.
And I'm man enough to help them win.
So that was the latest ad for the Kamala Harris Tim Walz campaign, which has caused quite the uproar in the Twitter sphere, the online, political commentary pundit area. And I wanted to talk about it a little bit because I think it's actually a really important topic or issue that doesn't get enough coverage, doesn't get enough genuine, honest conversation. And I think that really what it boils down to is that the Democrats broadly have done everything in their power to beat down, belittle, emasculate men for over a decade now. Like, at minimum, a decade now. Maybe some people could argue it's been decades, plural, but I think it's been very stark and obvious over the past decade. So I think what you're seeing is that you are losing men. You are hemorrhaging the male vote. Now, from my vantage point, it's bizarre that any men vote for Democrats at all, but there are still a lot of you. I don't know what's going on, if you hate yourself or what the deal is, but they've noticed that all of the abuse that they have worked tirelessly to levy towards men is starting to pay dividends, and not good ones. Negative dividends, in fact. And if you look at the polling, what you're seeing is that across all demographics, men are leaving the Democrat plantation. And this is not just a white guy phenomenon. This is black, Hispanic, across the board. I don't think that this is going to be a trend that stops here. I think it's highly probable that it actually grows and intensifies as more people realize that much of the anguish that men have experienced over the past decade has been a product of the ideology that the Democrats have fostered. And I'll explain why I think that, but it's very obvious if you just think about, like, okay, where did you first start to sense that men were being talked down to and belittled in society? If you're a woman, you may not have even noticed to this point. I hope most of you have, but I have a stunningly large amount of female listeners and viewers. So God bless you guys. I'm sure you're the red pill based ones that already know what I'm talking about. But for those, some of you may have not really noticed. But let me tell you, as a man, I hate talking like that, but in this case, it actually is important. As a man, it's become very obvious that men, and masculine men in particular, have been derided consistently for a very long time. And I think that really where I started to notice it was actually in sitcoms and commercials. So sitcoms, it was like you started to notice that it was always a morbidly obese, funny but pathetic dude that was paired with a very attractive, intelligent, hard driving woman as his counterpart. And the example, I mean, obviously The Simpsons was like the famous first example, but then it became kind of a trope where that happened constantly. And so I think that was like the first time that we started to sense it. And then you also started to notice that they were almost always white guys. Like it was going to be a fat, white, loser kind of punching bag was the punch line for much of the show. And then I started to notice it in commercials. Now, for those that have been following me long enough, you already know kind of the origin story of that is that, in fact, it was a product of ESG, that the environmental social governance, which then fostered DEI frameworks, ultimately dictated that you needed to be woke, and woke ultimately at its core is to degrade straight white men. like it degrades all men, but straight white men in particular were kind of the top of the hierarchy. Therefore, they get put at the bottom of the pyramid when it comes to abuse in this new paradigm. So I noticed in commercials, I've given this example many times, but the Gillette commercials where they're talking about how men are prone to assaulting women or sexually harassing. And I was like, the best a man can get? And you're lecturing me? Do you think that's going to make me want to buy your product? Oh, it actually has nothing to do with whether or not it'll make me want to buy your product. It's about, will you get a high enough ESG score that you continue to get institutional funding from BlackRock, State Street, Vanguard, et cetera, et cetera. So we figured that one out. But what it was indicative of was a much more broad movement to try and demonize men. Then on top of that, you have academia, which perpetuates much of the woke ideology. In fact, in many aspects, it's actually the origin story of woke ideology. It came through academia. People were propagandized to start to really hate men. Because once again, when it comes to the critical race theory kind of hierarchy of oppression, once again, it was men that were at the top of the pyramid, therefore they needed to be dropped down. So that was propagated very heavily through college. And any men that went to college heard a lot of that. And they were like, oh, I'm the problem. Interesting. And even if you were poor, if you were born without both parents, or you were abused, or whatever, you had a very rough life. Your parents were drug-addled, or, you spent time homeless as a kid. Didn't matter. You were born a man. You're part of the problem. You're at the top of the pyramid. You need to be brought down a peg. So I think a lot of men, particularly black men, who on a percentage basis deal with more hardship as children than white dudes do, just on averages, not saying this is uniform by any stretch of the imagination. And they're reading this stuff and they're going, oh, just because I'm a man, I'm now no longer a protected class. I'm now no longer one of the people that is aggrieved in this system, despite slavery or whatever else, prejudice. They've been looking at that and they're going like, oh, yeah, I've now been taken out of the protected class. I'm now being treated as if I was a white guy just because I'm a guy. The reason I say all this is that there was a huge fury that began because not just because that Kamala Harris Tim Walz ad, but also because Barack Obama saw fit to lecture black people on their voting habits, particularly black men. And he was saying, we are not seeing the same turnout that I saw, and particularly when it comes to black men, because the black vote in 2008 went 95% to Barack Obama. As of now, it's approximately 80% in the polls of black people planning to vote for Kamala Harris. So still an enormous percentage of black people that intend to vote for Kamala Harris, but dramatic drop off. I mean, when you're talking 15% of the black vote, it's probably 1 million black people in America that voted for Barack Obama in 2008 that now plan to vote for Donald Trump in 2024. That is a shift that they cannot ignore. And what you're witnessing is an effort to try and stop the bleed. They want to try and make it so that you get back on the plantation. You got to stop noticing the abuse that you're suffering verbally and institutionally and whatever else from the way we govern you. Just vote for us anyways. And black people ain't having it. Now, particularly black men aren't having it. Because when I said it was 95% that dropped to 80, well, it's dropped more than that amongst black men. Most women, black women, still a huge percentage are voting for Kamala Harris because she's a woman, I guess. But a lot of black men are like, I'm out. I've seen enough. I've had enough. I'm done. Instead of approaching them and saying, hey, let's hear your concerns. Let's hear your complaints. They're being lectured to. And that's a huge problem because the way they feel, at least what a lot of the commentary I've seen over the past 48 hours is that Donald Trump is speaking to them directly, and he's acting as if he needs to earn their vote. Kamala Harris and the Democrat apparatus more broadly is just acting as if they own their vote. They don't need to deliver anything to them. They don't need to do anything for them. Rather, you are obligated to support the Democrats because fascist, racist, whatever, over on the GOP side. And the black dudes are saying, yeah, I've heard that song and dance plenty of times. I ain't buying it. I ain't buying it. Now, here's the real problem. They don't know how to talk to them. They're doing this like schoolmarm lecture, even coming from Barack Obama. The reaction that I'm seeing online is very angry. They're like, dude, you were in there for 8 years. You ain't done shit for us. And now you're going to lecture us because we don't want to vote for this lady? Really? That's the tact? And I think the problem is that even when they made that ad campaign for Kamala Harris and Tim Walz, they still don't know how to speak to them. Not just black men, but just men, period. Like, look at that ad. It's so laughably detached from anything that appeals to a man, and it's still degrading. It's still talking to us as if we're like knuckleheads, but it's not even men like us that you're actually marketing to. Like, it's so obvious that those guys are not manly men. They're actors. Like, let's be honest, they don't come across as the most, straight. They also don't come across as if they are real. They don't come across as if they're sincere. They come across as if they're reading a script that, once again, is offensive. I mean, I'm not easily offended, so I don't really take it personally, but like, if I thought that I was actually considering voting for them, I'd be like, oh, you don't know me at all. You have no idea what my worldview is or what I'm interested in or what I want to see in terms of government moving forward. Like, you have zero clue what I'm about. And I think that's the same thing that black men are feeling, is that these people don't know how to speak to me anymore because they've spent so many decades abusing me that they've forgotten how to even talk to me as if I'm a human being. So why should I support you? I shouldn't, obviously. At its core, politics is largely about persuasion, but it's also about relatability. Do you relate to me? And if so, can I have your vote? Well, Kamala Harris is attempting that, but she's doing it in a lecturing fashion. You should relate to me. I look like you. Donald Trump, despite the fact, on the inverse of Kamala Harris, despite the fact that he takes a dump on a gold toilet, he has managed to convince 70, 80, maybe more million Americans that he relates to them better than anybody else in D.C., that he is their defender. In fact, he says it explicitly. He says, they're not coming for me. They're coming for you. I'm just standing in the way. That's a compelling argument. It's a way, yes, it's a populist message, but it's also one that sets him apart from the regime. And when you're dealing with a discontented population, that's the angle you want to take. You want to say, I'm not with those guys. I'm something different. Now, I think Donald Trump is different. I don't know how different he is, but he is certainly different from the current regime. And I think that message resonates, particularly when during his presidency, he did a lot more for the, scare quotes, black community. I hate talking like this, but it's applicable because we're talking about the black vote. When it came to the First Step Act and things like that, he's like, yeah, I'm going to get your cousin out of jail, or, whoever you may know, if you know anybody that's in jail. On his record, he's much more appealing. So all you have left is to lecture and scold and degrade. And guess what? The reason that they're leaving the plantation right now as is because you've spent a decade lecturing and scolding and degrading them. And that's not just black folks. That's all men. That's how almost all of us feel at this point. So let me tell you, your tact of trying to remedy what ails by doing more of what you've done to lose us in the first place ain't gonna work. I don't know why I'm giving you advice. I probably shouldn't. But I'm just being straight. Like, that's what's happening here. That you are using the same tactics that lost us to try and bring us back in, and it's only going to push us further away. It's like a relationship where you're dating and someone cheats on you, and then they like gaslight you, and then they go out and they cheat again. You're like, yeah, it's definitely over now. Like, that's basically what they're doing. So I think it's actually going to get worse for them. Like, the polls right now are 80%. I could see it dropping down to 75. If that happens, particularly losing, or having a record since I think it was 2000, the Hispanic vote for George Bush, Trump's polling to match or surpass that. And then you have the young white dude generation that seems to be going more and more Republican in contrast to the young white women who are going more and more Democrat. Unfortunately, the culture war and the war over gender and sexuality and all that, I think it's now a huge aspect of our political environment and how this political election cycle is going to play out. And I think that's why I wanted to talk about it more than anything. Let me show you some examples of black guys responding to Barack Obama's chastising of them for their unwillingness to vote for Kamala Harris. Warning, a little profane. Today's episode of Liberty Lockdown is once again brought to you by our friends over at Monetary Metals. You can unlock a 12% return on silver. Are you ready to start building wealth by putting your precious metals to work? Well, you should be. Silver isn't just a precious metal, it's a tangible asset and a great way to diversify any investment portfolio. And with Monetary Metals, you don't just own physical silver, you own silver that works for you to generate more silver, growing your total ounces over time. Right now, you can earn 12% annual interest on silver paid in silver in their latest offering if you're an accredited investor. Click the link in the description or head to monetary-metals.com/lockdown to learn more. Monetary Metals is revolutionizing the way you invest in gold and silver. They've been paying interest in silver and gold for over 8 years, helping you grow your wealth in real, tangible assets. Finally, there's a true alternative to saving in dollars, a yield on gold and silver with Monetary Metals. This is the first true silver bond since 1834. You can earn a 12% annual interest on silver paid in silver, but you must be an accredited investor to participate. It's a 3-year term, and the bond is financing a publicly traded mining company located in the western United States. Again, go to monetary-metals.com/lockdown to learn more, or click the link in the description.
About to vote?
Yeah.
Who you voting for?
Trump.
Come on, bro. Harris tells backwards, bro.
What?
Harris.
Man, we not voting for that, man. We voted for Trump, man.
And who you voting for, Trump or Kamala?
Man, Trump, we ain't that Indian ass, man.
Who, Kamala?
Yeah, we ain't.
Why you don't fuck with her?
Cause she with them immigrants. I'm black.
So why you ride with Trump so much?
Them Venezuelans taking all our bread.
Hey, Trump or Kamala?
Shit, Trump, to be honest.
Why Trump, though?
He used to keep immigrants out, so, we was able for us to get jobs. It's hard for us to get jobs now, shit, because immigrants taking over. They do it better than us, though, but they taking our man.
Alright, so this election around, you voting for Trump?
Hell yeah, fuck Camilla, fuck. I ain't even gonna lie. I'm not for her. Her ass Venezuelans, for them. That's over with. I don't with her.
Like, what would make you want to vote for Kamala?
I ain't gonna lie, we was the last 2 people on earth. Still wouldn't do that shit.
Damn.
On bro grave.
It's like that?
Yeah, it's like that. I don't with her.
I go with Trump. She ain't no good. I'll put it like that. So whoever wanna believe and go with her, check her history. Y'all turn around then.
So you wouldn't vote for a black woman? It's gonna be the first black woman in office.
Let me tell you something, man. Ain't no man is gonna listen to no woman, period. Not in y'all country or my country or another country. There's no man gonna listen to no woman.
I mean, but we can make history.
Man, we could, but it's not gonna be history, bro. That's gonna start World War III soon as she get in.
Kamala or Trump?
Huh?
Trump?
Yeah.
Come on, bro. Kamala till it's backwards, bro.
What you Kamala, we voting for Trump, bro. What are you talking about? You know damn well we don't Kamala.
So you're probably thinking, oh, that's just a one-off, right? Like it can't be really pervasive. I could literally play out the rest of this show of just clips like that. Like, yeah, I know it's still anecdotal on a low scale, but like if you actually look at the polling, it's 80%. That means that probably 35% of black men are strongly considering voting for Trump. Like, that's a huge, huge amount of black dudes. Huge amount. Let me give you one more example.
People want to act like Trump is the worst motherfucker in the world, but guess what? He was already president, and all this shit you talking about didn't happen. Y'all already living in Project 2024. Okay, you worried about Project 2025 when they already ran Project 2020 on you with the scandemic and all that fucking bullshit. Like, what the fuck are y'all really even talking about? Y'all trying to act like scare me into thinking that he's so bad that I should just vote for this broad just because. But guess what? I feel that she's so bad. She's the one that scares me. So I feel that she's so bad that guess what? I might just go fuck around and vote for Trump. And this is my first time saying this out loud. But y'all motherfuckers think you're gonna shame somebody or bully a nigga into voting for this bitch? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. And now you're gonna make me be Mr. Anti. You keep coming at me with this bullshit.
Not exactly a one-off. All right, that was Lord Jamar. He is a rapper from the 90s into the 2000s and now a music producer. He ain't mincing his words, to put it mildly. Apologies for the profanity. I warned you ahead of time. I'm also slightly profane, not quite that bad, but I think that, he's seeing through it. He's seeing through the games. And I think a lot of people feel like that. A lot of people that, J.D. Vance has actually made this argument that, like, in 2016, he was kind of buying the anti-Trump hype. By 2020, he felt it too. And by 2022, he, like, kind of woke up. He's a politician, so you don't have to take him seriously. But I would encourage you to take all these other testimonials seriously because they don't seem as if they are insincere and they do not seem as if they're going away. In fact, I would imagine that it's going to expand. I'm not exaggerating. I have dozens of videos of testimonials like that where they're just like, hell no. Ain't playing that. Get out of here with this identity politics shit that we got to support her because she's a black woman and blah, blah, blah. Like, they are not having it. And they are very upset about the assertion that they ought to get in line. I think at the end of the day is that it's really largely about the circumstances, the economic circumstances under Donald Trump were far better than they are under the Biden-Harris administration. Like, that's just obviously true. I mean, for almost everybody, because everybody buys groceries. Unless you really crushed it over the past 4 years, you do not feel as wealthy as you did back in 2019. Like, almost nobody feels that way. And guess what? When people feel like that, they vote for something else. They vote for who's not currently in power. And contrary to Kamala trying to differentiate herself from Joe Biden, saying she's got a new vision, but then also she's got no disagreements with anything that Joe Biden's done and everything's great, but also we got to fix a bunch of stuff. Like, that ain't working. Like, people don't want to hear it, and I don't blame them. I mean, yeah, I've been very straight with you guys. I'm well aware that a huge percentage of the inflation that we've dealt with over the past 4 years has been a product of the bills that were signed by Donald Trump in 2020, thanks to the pandemic and the lockdowns. He doesn't get off the hook for that. But when it comes to the average voter, just, regular dudes on the street that don't know anything about Austrian economics, they go, prices were a hell of a lot cheaper in 2019 than they are today. In fact, a lot of goods have doubled in cost or more. And that doesn't feel good, particularly if you're poor. If you're poor, you now feel destitute. If you were destitute before, now you're homeless. If you were rich, you're middle class. If you were middle class, you're poor. Inflation knocks everybody down. So I think that, the identity politics game, it works all right when things are okay, when people are doing all right. When people aren't doing all right, identity politics goes out the door. People are like, I can't afford to feed my family. You think I care what the president looks like or what gender they are? You out of your fucking mind? No, I don't care. I just want prices to come down. Now, will Trump actually fix that? TBD. It ain't going to be easy because there's so many units of currency in circulation. But it's pretty clear that Biden Harris have no plan. If they did, they probably would have already done something. And yeah, inflation is still going up. I know it's come down in terms of like, it's not at the 7, 8, 9% that it was once upon a time, but it's still 3, 4% annually. You got to remember, inflation is based off the baseline. So whatever prices were in, December 31st of 23, well, that's what the 3% increase is off of. It ain't 3% higher than it was in 2019. No, it's 3% higher than the already escalated prices over the past 4 years. So prices are out of control, and it doesn't matter what kind of snake oil salesman you are. People are not going to go down with that ship. Like, they're just like, I want off this inflationary ship. I can't afford to live, and fuck you if you try and shame me for saying otherwise. So that's what we're witnessing. And I think I think it honestly could shift the election. I really do. I think that the black vote, the male black vote, if I'm right, and 1 million black men turn out to vote for Donald Trump, forget about it. It is over for the Democrats. And it might be over for decades. The plan has been that you're going to allow undocumented workers, or whatever you want to call them, to come into the country, and you're gonna rely on them to vote Democrat once they get citizenship. Well, in that interim, what's actually happened is that a lot of these people have gotten to these cities, because a lot of people, they always congregate around cities. A lot of them go to the cities where a lot of other minority voting blocks are, and they undercut the wages of the domestic population, and they make it very challenging for people who are already struggling to get by. And these are the guaranteed, historically, Democrat voters. The people that no matter what you do to them, no matter how bad you abuse them, they're still going to vote for you. And that's what they were relying on. They overestimated the strength of that hand. They thought that they could just abuse these people to the end of the earth and that they would continue to go along with it. They were wrong, and I don't blame them. I don't blame any community who's looking at this going, this economic situation fucking sucks. Now, if you're watching this, stick around, and I'll explain to you why the economic situation is a product of central banking, and Joe Biden and Donald Trump and Obama and George Bush and every other president in your lifetime is responsible for the economic circumstances and the inflation that you've languished under. But I'll save that for another episode. Let's go back to that ridiculous ad. I want you to hear from the mastermind behind it. Imagine that you're losing male voters, and this is the guy you bring in to bring them back into the fold.
A Rorschach test, and everyone wondering what they're seeing here. But what was your intention in creating this parody and the substance of the message?
Yeah, great question. So, I mean, I think about masculinity a lot because I'm a dad now raising kids. And I think in this country, it's something we don't talk about a lot. And so I had this idea watching the back-to-back conventions where at the Democratic convention, there's men who are looking at the women who they work with or who they're in relationships with.
I got to pause it there because let me tell you, men don't think about masculinity a lot. You just are. Like that's normally how men function, is like we're just kind of more animalistic and we work off of instinct. At least that's always been my view of masculinity. If I step back and try and analyze it, I don't go, this is something we don't talk about enough. And, I just had to go and reflect. I've been reflecting on masculinity a lot because I'm a father. And, like, what kind of signals am I sending to my child? Like, this is not how normal men think about anything. So when you're losing normal men as your electorate, you don't want to have a guy that talks like that be the creative director behind this commercial. Right? I mean, how laughably disconnected are these people from Americans, from just dudes? Like, you can't relate to us because you hate us. At the end of the day, that's the real problem. You despise us with every fiber of your being, and we all know it. And that's the primary reason we won't vote for your asses, because it couldn't be more clear.
With admiration and respect. At the Republican National Convention, you have, everything's about size, crowd size, this size, that size. You're playing Macho Man. Literally, Hulk Hogan is ripping his shirt off. I mean, it was such a cartoon of masculinity that it really, the juxtaposition was hilarious to me. Wow, you guys got that picture fast. Holy moly. So I come from comedy, and comedy comes from juxtaposition. And so to me, I was just riffing with my friends thinking, wouldn't it be funny if you took these ideas of like, so macho, you got to tell everyone how macho you are all the time, masculinity, and what I feel is a more real version of what it means to be a man, where, you know, yeah, you cry at a rom-com, you braid your daughter's hair, you go pick up tampons from the store if someone needs like, who cares? And so to me, putting those together, but treating it like as if it's a real, you know, rugged man political ad would be funny.
And it wasn't. It wasn't really funny at all. In fact, it was embarrassing, but it was revealing. It was a mask-off moment. And for that, I'm appreciative. And I think that this is actually a good thing, that men across the country get to understand all at the same time exactly what the Democratic Party looks at us as. Knuckle-dragging buffoons or overly aggressive dangers. Because that's really the way you talk about us. You don't talk about the good aspects of us being builders, providers, defenders. You talk about us as like assailants, that we're a danger to every woman we know. And that's actually not the experience of most men or most women for that matter. And I think that this is a good moment for black and Hispanic and white men all to come together and be like, yeah, we're done. We're not playing these games anymore. We know exactly how you feel about us. And message received, loud and clear. I don't need an ad to have you convince me that the past decade of my life has been a misread on my part. You're not going to gaslight me. You're not going to convince me that you love me now. You're going to continue to try and shame me as you have been for most of my adult life. The other angle of divisive identitarianism that we've experienced that I forgot to mention is the corporate news. There's articles like MSNBC says the far right's obsession with fitness is going digital. You got how red meat became the red pill for the alt-right, how hot girls became the right's new obsession, or Democrats fear Harris losing too many male voters to Trump. Yeah, I can't imagine why those other three things would lead to the fourth. I can't figure it out. It's a total mystery. But I think what we're really experiencing is the natural conclusion of identitarian political fighting. Because you created this hierarchy of oppression, and now you've tried to flip it on its head, basically you've made it so that some of the people that you have convinced are in fact victims are now the oppressors, and they're realizing that, hey, this is not a game I want to play anymore. Like, especially if you are, someone who is impoverished, and you're like, wait, I'm an oppressor now just because I'm a man? But like, I'm poor. How can I be oppressing people? I don't understand. So I think that's really what this is that because you've used identity politics and you've used different identity groups to wage war against one another to try and keep us distracted so we don't pay attention to the people at the top, what's actually created is an alliance that can't stay together. It's impossible to galvanize this movement any longer. I mean, it's kind of obvious, right? Do you think that those black dudes I played in the video earlier, if you were to say, hey, do you vote for Democrats because of their concerns over the LGBTQI plus community? They'd laugh in your fucking face. Let's just be honest. They'd be like, no, that's not why I voted Democrat historically. To have this tent, this umbrella of those two groups, it was never going to last. And I think that this is the first election in recent memory where like those two disparate groups that you've tried to put into this big tent are going, we ain't fucking with you anymore. Like, we're not going to just get in line. You guys don't do shit for us. You basically just propagandize us. You tell us that we're victims, and you never actually deliver on the promises that you make. So we're out. We're done. Today's episode is once again brought to you by my favorite snack, actually. It's fantastic. You can get free shipping on orders over $50 if you use the promo code LOCKDOWN. It's Anton's Land of Biltong. What is biltong? Well, it's South African beef jerky. That's basically what it is, but it's better than beef jerky. I promise you that. It's more moist. I hate saying that word, but I'm going to say it anyways because it's actually applicable here. This stuff is fantastic. Fucking fantastic. I'm being honest with you. I love it. I eat it almost every day. It's really good for you. Super high protein. Obviously, no carbs. And it's just a great product. Once you try it, you will come back. I can assure you of that. Anton's Land of Biltong. All you got to do is go to landofbiltong.com, and if you order a bunch of it and use the promo code LOCKDOWN10, they'll give you 10% off. It's a great company produced here in the great state of Texas. Fantastic product, fantastic guy. Landofbiltong.com. That's BILTONG.com. Get you some, promo code LOCKDOWN. From the Trump side, like, Trump definitely has delivered more to the black community than the Democrat presidents have over the past, 20 years. That's just a fact. Like, you can look up his record. I've already explained what he did that, directly, that was intended to directly target the black community. I still want to just reiterate, I hate talking like that. I think it's absurd. Obviously, not all black people were affected by the First Step Act or Fresh Start or whatever it was called, where a bunch of people got a second chance and got out of prison. That's why I don't like talking like this, because I think it's absurd. But you know what I'm saying. In terms of the black community and their demands, if you're going to talk in broad strokes, yeah, Trump did more for them. He did. And what you're seeing is that, like, you're not going to gaslight these dudes. They're not going to buy it. They're not going to say, oh, okay, yeah, you give lip service. He gives action, but you like me more, or so you say. But then also simultaneously you chastise me. Whereas, like, Donald Trump's over here, giving hugs to all of the famous, black celebrities and stuff like that. I mean, Trump was beloved by the black community before he became president, like straight up beloved. So the fact that they ever, convinced a good percentage of them that he was some danger to them is kind of mind blowing in its own right. But I think what's happening is that, like, reality is conflicting with the narrative and reality is winning out.
I think men are in crisis, actually, in this country. I think that plays out different ways. And not all men are in crisis, of course. And not all men are just at home listening to Joe Rogan, being angry or being recruited to fascism. Some just need therapy, like we all do. I go to therapy. That's great. But I think we need to have a real conversation about that rather than allowing this kind of drift toward this faux masculinity that we see Donald Trump evincing.
You see what I'm saying? You've got, like, 4 middle-aged women with their glasses, obviously all hard lefties, sitting around a table talking about how men are obviously, we're sitting around listening to Joe Rogan and we're being driven towards fascism and we need therapy. And not all, the good Democrat voter guys, like, they're fine. But all of the rest of them, they need therapy and they're the problem. Like, the message couldn't be more clear. You think that we're monsters. But here's what men actually need. What we need is jobs. What we need is opportunity. What we need is love, a relationship. What we need is fatherhood, an ability to carry on a legacy, to have a purpose greater than ourselves. Those are the things we need. We need to be able to afford those things. We need to be able to go to a grocery store and actually provide those things to our loved ones. And we need to be taxed less to do so. And you need to stop borrowing, printing, and spending so that we can actually afford to do so ourselves. That's what we need. And until you get that through your fucking heads, I don't give a shit how many of you school marms sit around a glass table and we need to have a serious conversation about what's wrong with men. They're in crisis. Yeah, we are in crisis. We are. You're right about that. But we're in crisis because of y'all. Because of the way you talk about us, the way you look down on us, the way you shame us, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You're not fixing the problem by talking about us like that. In fact, the whole reason that we've begun to despise you, and I don't mean women, I mean those women. The reason we've begun to despise you is because it's been so evident that you've hated us for our entire lives. And that is not going to be fixed with some corny ass ad campaign from some dude who looks like he takes extra long showers when he's at the gym, if you know what I'm saying. This is where the rubber meets the road. This is where real shit wakes people up and they recognize that the government ain't here for us.
I'm scared, man. And then we still recovering from the lead. And it's like, bro, I want to get this off my chest, bro. This government is playing in our faces, man. It don't matter if it's Republican or Democrat. They playing in our faces, bro. You get Ukraine come over here, they get what they want. You get immigrants come over here, they get what they want, and you got people being denied these FEMA applications that you talking about the other day, Charlamagne. People being denied, bro. But you getting these migrants coming over here, $10,000 food stamps, bro. Goddamn $5,000 cash stipends, man. This shit hurting, bro. We finna get ready to damn near die, bro. A lot of people couldn't afford to evacuate. And this government planning our face, man.
Damn. I feel for you, bro. I totally understand, my brother.
Now, that was just a random call-in to The Breakfast Show with Charlamagne the God, but I mean, the pain in his voice is very real. Yeah, he's just gone through not one, but now 2 hurricanes, and he's hurting, and right, justifiably so. And I still don't love the perspective that like the government isn't doing enough for me. Like, I think the real lesson that people ought to take away is that the government isn't going to do enough for you. It's up to us. But you can tell, like, his real grievance is that it's contrasting the assistance that's being provided to Ukraine or Israel or immigrants, and contrasting that with his city, his community, whatever you want to call it. And I think it just becomes very obvious that, like, yeah, this system, it just takes from us and it gives to others. And now that the black community is feeling it, like, this could be a big shift in the electorate moving forward. It's going to be interesting to watch. And just to give you one more example, and in fact, it happens to be a brilliant one, J.D. Vance being interviewed by some New York liberal, and it is revelatory as to her worldview more than it is to J.D.'s, but he handles it brilliantly.
The reason that there is a housing crisis is that not enough houses have been built.
And that we have 25 million people who shouldn't be here.
Well, I mean, this is the thing.
I think it's both.
I know you do. I don't think that many people who look into this agree with you, but
I got to stop it there because that is such a appeal to the majority. It's not even appeal to authority. She says, I don't think many people who look into this agree with you, but that's not an argument. It's either true or it's false. Is his claim true that there are 25 million people that wouldn't be here if it weren't for the open borders that are applying additional demand for housing that is ultimately creating shortages? Is that true or is it false? Oh, I don't think many people that look into this actually agree with you on that. Who gives a fuck? Totally irrelevant. Sorry, we'll continue.
about a third of the construction workforce in this country is Hispanic. Of those, a large portion are undocumented. So how do you propose to build all the housing necessary that we need in this country by removing all the people who are working in construction?
Well, I think it's a fair question because we know that back in the 1960s when we had very low levels of illegal immigration, Americans didn't buy houses, didn't build houses.
Oh, man. That was stone cold, dude. Just to sit there with and not even react. I think he was actually waiting to see if she would laugh, and he realized that she was too dumb to actually get the sarcasm.
But of course they did. And I'm being sarcastic, of course, in service of a point, Lulu, the assumption that because a large number of home builders now are using undocumented labor, that's the only way to build homes. I think, again,
the country is much bigger.
Fundamental.
The need is much bigger. I mean, I'm not arguing in favor of illegal immigration. I'm asking how you would deal with the knock-on effect of your proposal to remove millions of people who work in a critical part of the economy.
Well, I think that what you would do.
For the record, she also doesn't even understand the housing market at all. It's a much larger country. Well, no, actually, the country hasn't grown at all, assuming, obviously, she means population size. So, yes, it's increased in terms of population from 70 years ago, but also all of the houses, or the majority of the houses built 60, 70, 50, 40, 30 years ago are all still in existence. We don't actually have to build a new home for every new citizen every time they arrive or are born. It's absurd. That's not how any of this works. It just kind of goes to show her misunderstanding about how this shit actually functions.
Do is you would take, let's say, for example, the 7 million prime age men who have dropped out of the labor force, and you have a smaller number of women, but still millions of women prime age who have dropped out of the labor force. You absolutely could re-engage folks into the American labor market. This is, I think,
to work in construction.
Of course, you could.
I mean, the unemployment rate.
That is the most revealing up talk you will ever hear in your life. Let me back it up. You got to hear it one more time.
To work in construction?
Of course you could.
To work in construction? Yeah, Lulu. Yeah. There are over 5 million American men that work in construction right now. I'm not saying 5 million people work in construction in America. I'm saying Americans, actual Americans, citizens. The majority of housing that is being built by American citizens right now. To believe that Americans are incapable of building housing just demonstrates that, in fact, the modern liberal has so deeply imbibed of their own propaganda that they genuinely believe that all hard or manual labor is only to be done and is currently only being done by immigrants. What an amazing disclosure by her. Incredible.
I mean, the unemployment rate is 4.1%. Most people
unemployment rate, Lulu, this is important.
But most people who don't work can't work in the regular economy. They're in the military, they're parents, they're sick, they're old. They might not want to work in construction.
The unemployment rate does not count labor force participation dropouts. And again, this is one of the really deranged things that I think illegal immigration does to our society, is it gets us in a mindset of saying we can only build houses with illegal immigrants when we have 7 million, just men, not even women, just men who have completely dropped out of the labor force. People say, well, Americans won't do those jobs. Americans won't do those jobs for below the table wages. They won't do those jobs for non-living wages. But people will do those jobs. They will just do those jobs at certain wages. And think about this from the perspective of an American company, okay? I want them to go searching in their own country for their own citizens. Sometimes people who may be struggling with addiction or trauma, get them re-engaged in American society. We cannot have an entire American business community that is giving up on American workers and then importing millions of illegal laborers. That is what we have thanks to Kamala Harris's border policies. I think it's one of the biggest drivers of inequality. It's one of the biggest reasons why we have millions of people who have dropped out of the labor force. Why try to re-engage an American citizen in a good job if you can just import somebody from Central America who's going to work under the table for poverty wages?
Just a fantastic rant by J.D. Vance there. And I agree with his assessment. Let me also add that I think that the illegal immigration, when we're talking such astronomical numbers, has also contributed to the mental illness issues, drug addiction, and homelessness too. Now, let me explain. Because I think that when you're talking about people that are at the lowest rung of the economic ladder, those that are adults but barely intellectually capable of working, but they can do a low-level job, but then it's taken away from them because the state of California has now made minimum wage $15, and you got some dude who just came across the border who's willing to do it for $6 or $7. Now, this guy who's like barely capable of actually getting a job at all is no longer able to get a job. But he is able to get welfare. So what does he do? He goes and he gets welfare. And then he goes and he picks up a bottle at the liquor store, and he picks up a joint, and then he picks up OxyContin or whatever else, and he ends up, on Skid Row down in L.A. Now, I'm not saying that's the case with every homeless person. Obviously, it's not. A lot of this mental illness comes from a whole bunch of other things: abuse as a child, or medication that you're put on too young. Like, there's a lot of weird stuff that can contribute to this. But if you think that the millions and millions of immigrants that have come in hasn't had any impact, I think you're lying to yourself. I really do. And when you see, as someone who came out of California and saw the homeless crisis increase year after year, but really exponentially from like 2015, 2017 on, it felt like it was just going like out of control. I think that there's a lot to be said that, like, once the immigration issue increased, it kind of hit a tipping point. And then you had all these government policies that incentivize people that, like, well, I'm not even going to try. I'm not even going to try and compete. So they just get on the social safety net, and then their lives are basically over. And then obviously you have all the pharmaceutical companies that are contributing to this. So I'm not letting them off the hook either. And I'm not trying to blame one thing. And I'm not certainly blaming all homelessness and all mental health issues on immigrants. Don't get it twisted. I'm just saying it's a factor that I think it's very unfair to ignore it entirely. And just to get back to that interview real quick, I think what's really important, the important takeaway is, one, I was wrong about J.D. Vance, and he's going to be a fucking tremendous politician for decades moving forward. I think he's the hands down favorite to be the president in 2028 at this junction. his interviewing capability, his ability to destroy journos left and right is almost unparalleled. It's right up there with Vivek. And I think that he's going to be a problem for them for a very long time, assuming Trump wins. And even if he doesn't, really. But secondarily, I think that the other primary takeaway is that the modern Democrat does not understand their opposition at all. And unfortunately, from their vantage point, their opposition is all men. And they don't understand men. And that is why, as we opened up with, they put out ads that are intending to appeal to us, which are in fact the same variety of insulting as every other engagement we've had with you people for the past 15 years. Because at its core, you can't appeal to us because you don't find us appealing and you don't relate to us. And therefore, every envoy, every attempt to reach out to us just reeks of either fraudulence or condescension or degrading us or anger, or you get the point. Here's Buck Sexton on Bill Maher talking about exactly this topic.
Working class voters who are men in particular, but white working class male voters in Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin. Sorry, bro, the progress means that no one can speak for you and no one can be in favor of your interests.
But aren't working class people also
people who are going to be
of color?
confused.
Why is it just men? Women are working class as well, you realize?
No, of course, but we're speaking.
See, even as she's interjecting, she still misses which identity group she's supposed to be outraged on behalf of. Because he's talking about men, and she goes, but what about women of color? And he's like, I'm just talking about men. And then she's like, oh, but also women are working class too. Oops.
About masculinity and why, right, the topic at hand is why is it that the Republican Party is the party of guys who are, you know, that talk about masculinity in traditional terms, that speak about courage, that speak about getting after it, that speak about taking risks. And the Democrats are, announce your pronouns, let's have boys pretend they're girls in the locker rooms, let's put tampons in the... This is just reality. You know, they call him, what's his name?
I mean, those things happen. They don't happen everywhere.
Well, but they happen in enough places that the Democrat Party won't condemn it. And so you ask why? Why are they okay with all of
courage
this?
Only a masculine quality?
These are... And see, here we go. It's not that it can't be a feminine quality as well, but then you get into this, what is the definition of masculinity that can be positive that doesn't upset the feminists? There's nothing, you say, oh, risk-taking, greater tolerance for, dealing with like long hours at work, whatever it may be. Oh, that's terrible because you're disenfranchising women who have the same, well, okay, but so the only masculinity is toxic masculinity. This is why Tim Walz, and it's not working, and he's going around telling everybody, look at me.
They do more dangerous jobs.
Yeah, of course.
That's just a fact.
Yeah, I mean, you
men do the more dangerous jobs.
We do the more dangerous jobs. We do most of the fighting in the wars.
Right. Your job is very dangerous at this table. And I'll tell you why.
You're hemorrhaging male voters. You have a conservative there that's telling you exactly why. You insult him. And I think that kind of sums up all of it. So why do I bring all this up? Why harp on it for an entire hour? Well, I was inspired, actually, because that first video I showed you of the rapper from the 90s that was speaking out about how Obama is basically assuming that they deserve the black vote and how offensive it is. And it was quote tweeted by a new friend of mine who I've become friendly with over the past 6 months after we spoke on a same panel at Freedom Fest in Las Vegas, Brett Weinstein. And he said this: Democratic Party is imploding because the diversity column that it rests on has collapsed. A vote for Kamala Harris isn't a vote for the inclusion of blacks or the equality of women. It's an insult to the intelligence of the electorate. It would be shameful if she was our first female president because identity, rather than capability, is her only meaningful qualification. Black people are seeing through the bullshit. Men of every color are too. Women are the last stronghold, but even there, the rate of awakening is astounding. Let's send the DNC elite home for good and put the Republic back on course. The West is depending on us. To which I say, indeed, Brett, indeed. Moreover, the point that I wanted to make was that it strikes me that the sentiment that these black dudes are expressing is a universal one. In fact, it's probably the most universally American sentiment that exists. Now, let me explain. They're saying, fuck you. The two most American words when you put them together that I can probably muster. fuck you. You don't own me. You don't own my vote. You can't tax my tea. You can't take my guns. You can't break my printing press. You can't censor me. You can't send me off to a bunch of nonsensical wars to fight for oligarchs and banking cartels. You can't. Fuck you. That's what these guys are saying. It's a universal message of rebellion. And at its core, what is America if not rebellion? It is the home of rebellion. And what I've seen over the past 4 years that I've been doing this show, and particularly in 2020, is that we lost that spirit of rebellion. We lost what it was to be an American. The most fundamental belief system that makes us special, as best I can tell, is when a tyrant rises up, we say fuck you. This is a universal fuck you that transgresses our identitarian differentiations. That you could have a Jewish intellectual like Brett Weinstein or his brother Eric. You could have a blue blood like RFK Jr. You could have I don't know if she's Samoan or whatever she is, Hawaiian, I guess, Tulsi Gabbard. She comes out and she says, yeah, fuck you. You have Vivek Ramaswamy, Indian heritage, but also Ivy League. The list goes on, right? There's so many people that are not GOP that are coming into this fold saying, fuck you, in unison. I think at its core, that's the tie that binds us. But it's not an ugly thing. It's not even necessarily a hateful thing. It's a rebellious thing. And I think it's a beautiful thing, personally. Now, set aside all of your concerns about the figureheads and their legitimacy and whether or not they're true believers or they're cons and they're trying to manipulate you. Yeah, maybe all of them are. That's not really the point, right? What it tells you is that there is a market demand for a political alliance that says in unison, there's an umbrella that allows all of us into it just so that we can say more loudly, fuck you. That's special. That's something you shouldn't sleep on. No matter if you think RFK Jr. is controlled by Israel or Tulsi Gabbard's a war hawk at the end of the day and that she's not really against the war on terror. She just thinks it should have been fought differently. Yeah, okay. Or Vivek, he's a big pharma con man. I've heard that 1,000 times. Some people think I'm something, whatever the conspiracy theory is about me. It's not really the point, right? It's not about the figureheads. It's about the emotion. It's a widely held emotion that literally just encompasses perhaps half of this country. Half of this country is ready to say, regardless of whether or not you trust Trump, too, but in one voice, not just mine, not just Tom Woods or Scott Horton or Dave Smith, but 75 million people are ready to say, fuck you. That is beautiful. Look at how happy it makes me. It genuinely makes me happy. That is the spirit of rebellion. That is what makes America great. And that might be what makes America great again. Setting it aside from Donald Trump, don't get caught up in that. That's not the point. I think it's a beautiful thing. We'll see if it has the legs, if it has the capacity to actually implement the changes that are necessary. But I, for one, am a little bit hopeful. We shall see. If you guys enjoyed this episode, please do hit the like button, leave a comment, subscribe. I'll see you soon. Peace.
They thought we was stupid. They thought we was ignorant. Black folks have woken up. We've turned our back on the Democratic Party. You can no longer use race and religion to sway us into voting for some bullshit. Yeah. We voting for policies. Okay? America is fucked up. And how the fuck is we gonna make it better voting for the same motherfuckers that's in control right now? Because obviously, you some of bitches can't do your job. Y'all some bitches, it's time to get fired. Let Donald Trump come on in there and fix this shit, because goddamn, I'm tired of the bullshit. And black folks are too. You cannot use our race no more to tell us what the fuck to do. You understand me? So Obama, Magic Johnson, and the rest of you some more bitches, sit the fuck down and shut the fuck up. We got this.
Welcome to Liberty Lockdown. Please scan your barcode. Your liberty ain't gone, but yeah, it's on hold. Where did it come from and where did it go?